can compare and contrast anything. You can compare things which are very similar, like a lemon and a pomegranate, for instance. There'll be some differences, but there are certainly lots of similarities. Or you can compare and contrast things which are very different, like a car and a house, or a sheep and a Ouija board. Now, you might not find there's much in common, but there may be some similarities, but there'll also be a lot of differences. But you're still perfectly entitled and able to compare, even only as an academic exercise. But I get really, really frustrated when I hear certain people say things like what Al Gore said recently on the Bill Maher show.
Well, I didn't do what J.D. Vance did and call Trump America's Hitler when he did that a few years ago. I think there's a
what he actually said was, I think about Trump a lot, and he could be an asshole just like Nixon, or he could be America's Hitler.
Oh, that's accurate,
and I remember thinking, oh, so the good option is that he's just an asshole like Nixon?
Well, I think there's a big difference in comparing someone to Hitler on the one hand, which I don't do. I think that's a big mistake. And I said that in the speech that you're referring to. That's a unique form of evil that should not ever be compared to anything.
Yes, indeed. A unique form of evil that should stay unique. I hate to tell you, but the thing is, Hitler was a real person. Adolf Hitler. That was his name. He lived, he breathed, he had a mummy and daddy. He grew up in a little village in Austria. He had emotions. I believe he had sex. He had sex at least once, apparently with a Jewish prostitute who gave him syphilis in Vienna, which apparently is one argument as to why he was a raging anti-Semite. He would wake up, he would go to the toilet, he'd shit and piss and eat and do all the sorts of things that human beings did, many normal things. He loved dogs, he was a vegetarian, I think even a vegan, I'm not sure. Many human elements to Adolf Hitler. He was a real human being who actually existed, not some mythical, fictitious character, as much as he sounds like somebody, some evil lord from some great work of fiction. No, Hitler was a real, living, breathing person. And Nazism actually occurred not even that long ago, less than a century ago, in the 20th century. And it didn't occur in some weird, far-off land which is so isolated and where they have no sense of what is decent and civilized. No, it occurred in one of the most civilized, advanced, and democratic societies at the time. That's what Germany was at the time. One of the most progressive, one of the most liberal. I mean, Berlin, anything went in Berlin at the time. So if it can occur in Germany, it can occur anywhere. And it certainly could occur in a society like the United States of America, which for all intents and purposes is very similar to what Germany was like back in the 1920s, 1930s. Also, everybody knows Hitler. He is indeed the ultimate example of true evil that has actually occurred. I mean, I say everybody knows Hitler, that I do shock myself sometimes when I speak with quite a few young people who have no idea who Hitler was, or maybe just some vague notion. But they certainly know him more than many other people. Obviously, it would be silly to compare anyone to Hitler. That would be stupid. You know, many people say, like Al Gore and academics, it's outlandish. You lose your argument when you compare somebody to Hitler. Now, obviously, that makes total sense if, you're comparing, I don't know, almost anybody to Hitler. Oh, that person's a really bad person. You're just like Hitler. Most of the time, it would be a terrible example. It would be silly. But for a man who exhibits increasingly dictatorial behavior, is a political leader, and even says things which invoke Hitler and Nazism, it is entirely appropriate. Sure, we could compare him, and we do sometimes, to Viktor Orban in Hungary or Vladimir Putin in Russia, and we do compare him, rightly so. And we could compare him to Pinochet or to Saddam Hussein. There would be many things that would be similar and that we could contrast, that compare and contrast. There would be things that would be different. But we certainly can, and we do compare. But everybody knows Hitler. Hitler, as Al Gore recognized, is indeed the ultimate example of how bad it could be, how things could get. Nobody is saying that that's where we are. Nobody is saying that Trump is Hitler. But Nazism didn't start with cattle trains shipping people off to gas chambers or rounding people up and shooting them into massive pits. That's not how it begins. That's not what you need to look out for at the start. Dictators emerge gradually. They start with lies. They repeat those lies with propaganda. And they keep repeating it until enough people believe them and repeat those lies themselves. Then they work to dismantle democracy bit by bit. One day here, one day there, trying to rip apart the Constitution, going unchallenged. Then they target vulnerable groups, maybe Hispanics, maybe Jews, maybe Muslims. Then they attack the media. Then they go for lawyers. Then they go for academia. Then they start arresting judges. Then they ship people off to concentration camps without any due process. Any of this sounding in any way familiar to you at all? El Salvador, CBS, Harvard, Duggan, just to jog your memory. No, comparing Trump to Hitler is not based on just the occasional coincidence. It's not that there's, very occasionally Trump may say things or do things that you think, oh, that's a bit like Hitler. It is the mounting evidence that we are witnessing. It's no accident that we are seeing autocracy emerge right in front of our eyes. Almost every day, we are seeing the Trump administration. They are doing things that could be taken directly out of the Nazi playbook. Not at the end of Nazism, because we're not at the end of the Trump administration either, if it will ever end. We're at the beginning of the second Trump administration. We're at the start. This is where things begin. And he's already chipping away at democracy, at the rule of law, exactly what Hitler did. He's already creating enemies out of the most vulnerable people, Hispanics. He did Muslims in his previous administration. We're seeing Kennedy in the Department of Health talking about having a register for autistic people, undocumented immigrants. But it's not just coincidental stuff. He has invoked Hitler or Nazism. His own ex-wife, Ivana, claimed that Trump would keep a copy of Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, on his bedside table. Trump, perhaps unsurprisingly, claims he never read the book because the guy is almost illiterate. I mean, read his tweets or X posts or whatever, or Truth Socials. His writing skills are not the best. Everybody who's ever worked with him says he doesn't read anything. So the fact he doesn't read it is neither here nor there. But why would you have a book by somebody who is the symbol of evil on the planet by your bedside? Why? Because it's going to motivate you? Because you admire that person? Do you think it's a form of inspiration for you in some way? His own vice president, as Al Gore said, Trump could either be like Nixon or he could become America's Hitler. It's not an enemy of his. That's his own vice president said that about him. J.D. Vance said he could become America's Hitler. He could become America's Hitler. So there's a conditional. He could, and he's using Hitler as a comparison. He is the second in command. If Trump dies or Trump gets in an accident and needs to go to hospital, Vance will be the president of the United States of America. He's the one who said that his own president, his own leader, could be like Hitler. His former chief of staff, John Kelly, reportedly said how Trump admired how Hitler ran the German military and claims that he once said Hitler did a lot of good things. Also, during the Charlottesville rally of white supremacists, Trump said there are good people on both sides. Oh, really? Okay. He has neo-Nazis and white supremacists like former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke and the Proud Boys, who are his supporters. I mean, you can't choose your supporters, but that must tell you quite a few things about the psychology, the mentality of Trump if those sorts of people are ones who support him. In the Republican Party, you have MAGA Congress members like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who talk of Jewish space lasers that cause forest fires in California. There is nobody more relevant to compare Trump with. Even if all those direct links to Nazism and references to Hitler weren't even there. Just looking at the things he and his administration are doing and have done in the first 100 days of his presidency give us enough cause to say, okay, should we maybe begin to have a look and see what's going on here and see what some of the similarities were? Hitler is a lesson to us all. The best thing about Hitler, if there is anything that's good about Hitler, is that we know that he can exist, or somebody like him, because he already did. Recognize the signs. Realize when history is trying to repeat itself. Comparing is not about saying that something is something. It's called a clone. Recognizing where there are similarities, and in this case, warning signs, ensures that what may be at this moment a bad thing doesn't ultimately become anything like the worst thing.